Thank you so much for being
Thank you,
here.
Brennan.
It's your first time at the Global Forum.
It's our both
Our
first time, right?
Our first time together. Yes, we're celebrating. So Paragon is one of Southeast Asia's biggest beauty companies, but it's probably the world leader in halal beauty. Can you tell us a little bit about what makes a beauty product halal?
Okay, first of all, thank you, Amran, for the really good introduction. So, halal in Arabic means like allow or permission, right? So, if we are talking about halal beauty, then we have to understand what is not allowed to be in our beauty products. So, in Quran, in our holy book, there are several things that we are not allowed to eat. To drink. So it will be not allowed also in our beauty products. So there will be blood, porcine, or some meat that not being processed in the name of Allah. So there are three. So next the question is there any anything we put into our cosmetic products, right? So it's not really like porcine in our product, but there are some, the critical things is the raw material. So the raw material, you have to understand about the source or the process. Sometimes there is a fermentation, and then the medium will be maybe with a porcine medium. So there are some active like collagen or glycerin or gelatin that is critical to that activity. And then our halal accreditation will see like all the process of the production or process in the laboratorium, and also the during delivery, or where do you store it, because it will be mixed or not, so that will make product halal or not. But it's very rooted in religion, right? So in our halal regulatory body, it is also not allowed to put the name of something is not allowed into the product. Maybe the product will be completely halal in the raw material and process, but you cannot name the product, let's say, opium or champagne or wine. It's a very Muslim understanding. And that the third one, you have to understand also, Muslim will take ablution 5 times a day. So you have to make sure that the products will be water permeable. We have some products that have to be water resistant, so it won't ruin your eyes, if you run or if you cry, if you had a bad breakup. But it must, so it has to be water resistant enough, but it has to be water permeable, so it won't ruin our ablution activity. So it's critical for lip cream, for mascara, and also for nail polish.
Wow.
So maybe that will be like three major that hope that all of you, the brand founders, will get like a glimpse of, because like Amran said, our global population is like 8 billion, and then 1.5 to 1.9 billion is Muslim, and Indonesia is the biggest Muslim population in the world actually. Yes.
Amazing, amazing. And it sounds like it really it extends the halal. It extends to every single part of the process, from sourcing those raw materials,
yes,
to naming, to packaging.
Yeah.
And I also understand that every Muslim person has different interpretations of halal. I'm wondering how how you approach product development and marketing with that.
Okay, maybe so like the definition is all the same because it's based on Quran, right? But you have to understand there are some halal regulatory will have, let's say, some detailed criteria that may be different. So let's say like halal in some countries will need like PCR to make sure that there is no porcine DNA in the critical raw material, but not in Indonesia. And then there are some pigment source that also different, like in Indonesia and in Middle East, but like some minor criteria. But the one that I can explain, but usually in one region, the halal the halal regulation will be quite the same, because usually we will have like some agreements. So Middle East region and then Southeast Asia region, it will be the same. And also I think what will be useful information for you. Each of the halal regulatory for the country, they usually have partner in some countries, and then you can find it in website. So like us in Indonesia, we call it BPJPH or MUI. And then if you go to the website, they will have like in France, their partner is some big mouse, and then maybe in UK others. So if you want to take halal certification, then you can go to the halal body in the country that already approved by the country that you want to enter. So it will make easier.
Makes it a little bit easier. Very nice.
Yeah.
And halal is only one quality that Muslim beauty customers are looking for. How do you also keep your focus on quality and innovation above all when making these beauty products?
So this is what we learned when we launched Wardah. So Wardah is one of the halal beauty pioneer in the world. So we launched it about 30 years ago. So and right now Wardah is the biggest brand equity in Southeast Asia region. Not only talking about halal, but all the beauty brand. And understand, the concept of blue ocean, red ocean, right? Imagine 1995, nobody's talking about halal beauty. It's like a blue, deep blue, no red dots in it. But then we understand it's not only talking about halal. People will want to have like high performance product in the first place, so it will be hygiene. So at that time, we understand, okay, it's not only talking about halal as our unique selling proposition, we also have to leverage our production and R&D capability. So because we understand, from 30 years ago, high performance product comes first. Of course, you want to have like a good sunscreen, right? You want to have like high protection sunscreen. You want to have like moisturizer, or you want to have like a good sensory serum, something like that. And then the second one, of course, for Muslim, they need halal products. And then the third one, I think just like another brand, and then just like the previous panel, I think consumer wants to be heard, wants to be represented, because what we learn, and then I think until now, we don't see enough Muslim women being good representation, in the billboard or in Sephora or in Ulta. So I think, the modern Muslim, the young generation wants to see themselves being represented well by the brand, not only beauty, but maybe with fashion also, shoes, yeah.
Right. But especially beauty, right? So personal,
Yes.
we need to see ourselves represented.
Yeah.
You mentioned Wardah is the biggest brand in Paragon's portfolio and the biggest beauty brand in Indonesia.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about some of Paragon's other brands and how big the business is.
Yeah, so Paragon is the largest cosmetic manufacturer in Indonesia. And talking about brand, we have 14 brands right now. So we are talking about from personal care, male grooming, beauty, and also skincare. We are now in several countries in Southeast Asia, in Indonesia, Malaysia, and also Brunei. We have 11,000 employees. And we also have one of the largest R&D laboratory in Southeast Asia.
Amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, let's zoom out a little bit and talk more about Southeast Asia, which is a big, big area of investment for beauty brands around the world. Yes. It's one of the fastest growing regions for beauty, and executives, many of whom may be here, are keen to push their brands into that market. What obstacles do you think that they will face, global brands entering Southeast Asia, particularly Indonesia, and how can they get ready for that?
Okay. I think you need to understand like the Southeast Asia region is the highest growth rate right now in global beauty. And then the second one, you have to understand also the majority is a Muslim population. And then so you have to understand, just like the previous panel, I mean, you have to understand that there will be difference. There will be difference in not only we are talking about skin type or climate or shade, but also like what they aspire to be, because it has to represent on your image of the brand, right? And then what is important for them. And then I think because if you see halal only like criteria, only like source and then process, and then you go all the checklist, and then you will have like another multinational brand in Indonesia. So right now, interestingly, in skincare and also makeup, the one that have a good growth is actually the local brand, because they do understand. They set match, and then their image is what we aspire to be. Yeah.
Localization is very important.
Yes.
Yeah, one thing that I also learned is that in Indonesia, products have to declare on their package, upfront on their package, if they're halal. Do you think this is a big obstacle for global brands?
Yes, so our previous president make halal mandatory, but we have like grace period. So in 2026, all beauty products is mandatory to be halal. Will it be obstacle or not? But I think right now there are many contract manufacturing that already familiar with halal criteria. So I think the obstacle will be, really understand the consumer, and really understand the consumer will imply to your product portfolio in how you communicate the brand, right? And understand the channel in the Southeast Asia region.
Yeah. Well, I want to ask a little bit more about that too. It feels like the thing to do for these companies that want to reach that Muslim customer is find the right partners, those contract manufacturers.
Yeah.
Where should they start if they're somebody who hasn't a clue where to begin?
I think right now, talking about Southeast Asia region, then you have to choose a partner that is familiar with the region. So if you are not doing your own manufacture, you can choose contract manufacturing in that region, Southeast Asia, in Thailand, Indonesia, or in Asia there will be like South Korea. So they're already familiar, and then I think you should come, you should see, go to the mall, go to the department store, go to the beauty event, because like like what Naika present, we also have like local e-commerce that have a big beauty event. Then you can feel like what interesting for the consumer, what is not, and then you can talk directly to the consumer. Yeah.
Nice.
I think it's really important.
In countries like the US, where there are significant Muslim populations, there are 4.5 Muslim people in the United States. What can brands who operate in these countries learn from the Indonesian or Southeast Asian market?
I think what we can learn from right now the dynamic in Southeast Asia is, first you have to be really fast and agile, because it's really driven by e-commerce. And talking about e-commerce, the one that is the highest growth is TikTok Shop. So it's a live streaming concept, right? If you do live streaming, and then people will also do live comment on your products. And then sometimes we think like live streaming is only doing live with your cell phone, but it's actually like more complicated than that. So agile, very e-commerce or very tech driven. And then I think in Southeast Asia culture is they also like to be in group. So talking about not only online but understand how to do offline event that attract the consumer is also important. And I think the Southeast Asia region growth is also teach us that hyper personalization, understand what your consumer value, because I think in Southeast Asia region or Indonesia right now, they want to have a good product for them, but also good for the planet. Coming back to the halal topic also, people will used to think like, oh, halal is talking about the source, but actually for us Muslim, halal is about making good products or making good action. So halal is not only about whether the source is has portion or not. For us, it's also talking about sustainability. It's also talking about the transparency of your brand. It's also talking about like what your brand stands for, what is your brand's voice, and also talking about the representation. So it's talking about, making a good move, making a good product. I think if you enter like Southeast region or maybe majority Muslim population, is something that you have to understand that halal is not about like several checklists of the raw material, but it's talking about lifestyle.
Of course.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brennan.